Sleep it's like the Archimedes lever. It's the superordinate node. And, a lot of people are trying to sort of hack their way into, improving their blood sugar or doing something with, blood pressure or changing their immune factors and their sort of, immune reactivity. Well, what would happen if there was something that sat above all of those as a major control unit, that if you just focused on that and dialed it up, every one of those other things, it's almost like when you see those remarkable music studios where you've got this music deck and you've got all of these dials, and then there's that one dial at the far left end, which if you push it, all of the other dials have up. That far left dial, that's sleep. And if you move that up, all of the other levers actually improve. So you don't need to worry. It's the Swiss Army knife of health. If you are struggling with sleep at night, you should avoid naps during the day. And the reason is because as we're awake during the day, we build up all of this healthy sleepiness in our brain. And there's a chemical that builds up that's called adenosine. The more of it that builds up, the sleepier you feel. After about 16 hours of buildup, you should be plenty enough to then sleep for 8 hours. And when you sleep for 8 hours, you remove all of that sleepiness chemical in the brain and you wake up refreshed, ready for the next day. That's how it works. But if you were to take a nap in the afternoon, especially too late in the afternoon, you release some of that sleepiness, almost like a pressure valve on a cooker, and it just gets rid of some of that sleepiness, so that now when it comes time to get to bed in the evening, you either can't fall asleep as easy or you can't stay asleep. So the advice would be for the general public, if you don't struggle with sleep and you can nap regularly, then naps are just fine. But if you can't nap regularly, and especially if you struggle with sleep at night, you should avoid naps.
And I heard you talk about this concept of kind of being dark deprived and maybe light deprived as well.
Yeah.
Can you talk a bit more about that and how people might kind of think in those terms about changing their bedtimes and their wake times as well?
So we are, I think, a dark deprived society in this modern era. Sort of, those discussions about the iPad reading or sort of light in the evening and just dimming that down in the last hour before bed. All of those things, that darkness signal, helps encourage the release of this hormone called melatonin. And melatonin helps time the great sleep race, as it were. It's like the starting official at the 100-meter race in the Olympics. It gathers all of the races together and starts the timing of that race. So you need melatonin. So that's why we need a darkness signal at night to help us get to sleep and time the healthy onset of our sleep. But equally, in the daytime, we need light, because light will actually make us more awake throughout the day. And even office light is not particularly strong. It's not even as strong as a very dull day outside. So you need to get outside, especially in the morning, try to get at least 20 minutes of daylight in the morning. So that way you have a sort of a nice deep trough at night in terms of getting sleepy, and that's melatonin being released, that's darkness, that's putting you down to sleep. And then the light during the day means you have a wonderful peak of alertness throughout the day.